Welcome back to another episode of Exploring Whiskeys. I'm Eric.
I'm Kevin, and today we are exploring the last of Whiskey Row. Old Forester, 1920. Now, technically, this was the third release, and 1910 was the fourth release, but it's the last of the Whiskey Row reviews that we're going to do.
Yeah, this is the Prohibition Style, and so this is kind of a nod to the Volstead Act, which it actually initiated the Prohibition. And back then, they granted 6 distilleries a license to continue to distill bourbon, but obviously back then it was for medicinal purposes only.
Yes.
So this is what this is kind of nod to.
Yeah. And Old Forester, they got the third license. They actually do share that they got the third license out of the 6. They were number 3. There's a little bit of an interesting style here. So so the proof ends up being 115. And that seems really odd at first. Similar to the Bottled and Bond Act, so the 1897, where everything had to be 100 proof.
Goes in at 100.
This, goes in at 100. So they actually had to barrel it at 100 proof. Normally you barrel at 125 and then proof it down. They had to barrel it at 100. So through the math and the number of years that they probably aged it, which is 4 to 5 years, if you do the math, 5 years, a 3% loss over 5 years gives you 115 proof. It's kind of a neat, it's totally a nod, and all of them have been a nod to the Bottled and Bond Act or the fire that happened, or it's really kind of an interesting, just a whole thing that they've done to just acknowledge the history of whiskey and their distillery.
Yep.
Well, it's 115 proof.
Yeah, you smell the proof for sure.
That comes through pretty solidly.
Get your bananas.
I don't get the bananas. I really don't. I know other people have said the bananas, but most of the time I usually get a pretty strong vanilla note. That's what I tend to get from a lot of the Old Foresters.
I'm picking up a brown sugar.
Yeah. It's not I was going to say there's a slight vanilla note, but it's more of a brown sugar, toffee type note. The other interesting part that I always have with any of the Old Forester lineup is just the amount of people that really are into it. There's a group of people that will blend the 1910 and the 1920, put it into a bottle. There's a label that you can print out and stick it on the bottle, and they call it a 1915. And if you look at the label, it's amazing how almost perfect it is to match. I really think the combination of the two would be really very good.
We should try that.
We should.
For 115 proof, though, that first sip, it doesn't really burn. And there's no hug going down. I'm sure once I aerate it and chew on it, and then it's going to change it. But
it's not a burn. It's not a burn. It's there. Like the proof is there. You're tasting a whole lot of there's a lot of complex notes there, but there's a caramely sweet note that kind of sits on the outside, and there's a little it's not a hug. I'm still at 115. I would assume there'd be a hug. There's not a hug. It's warm. Now I'm getting a little bit more spices. I'm not sure what it is exactly, but there's a sweet and then there's a little bit of a spice to it.
Now the aftertaste kind of lingers. It's kind of a nutty, almost a peanut. Not like a Knob Creek peanut, but a little bit.
I can see it.
It's just lingering in the very, very back.
Yeah, it's not. No, it's not pronounced like Knob Creek. But there's some kind of a. I'm going to say it's not peanut though. I agree with like mixed nut type thing of probably more of a walnut type note to it. A little more hearty than a peanut note. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit more vanilla dark fruit than I am. I don't get banana.
That initial, like once you, hits that tongue, it is super sweet.
Yeah, the very beginning of it is super sweet. Totally agree.
So we pick up that fruit, but yeah, it is super sweet.
I expected a little more oakiness. It's there, but if you go through the list of the tastes, like it's down here.
Yeah.
It's way down there. And I'm not getting dried out. So it's not like oak tannin, but that's a pretty solid amount of oil sitting on there. And it just doesn't come through. I get sweet fruit, kind of about it.
Yeah, to the nose again, it's fruity. I get some brown sugar.
Yeah, brown sugar is definitely the sweet note. It's not that vanilla. It's not a honey. It's not really caramel, because that always has a sharper sugary note to it. The molasses, so dark brown sugar. That's the one. It's the dark brown sugar with a little bit more of a molasses note to it.
But yeah, back to again 115 proof. There's not a strong burn. I mean, it's just you feel warm.
So again, that'd be interesting to mix with the 1910 and see what that tastes like.
It's another episode.
I also think this could be really solid over a cube.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of heat isn't going to dissipate. And the sweetness probably jumps out when you put it
more
over
pronounced.
cube. Yeah, maybe that's where you start to get bananas.
We'll find out after.
I don't think I've ever got that strong banana note that some people refer to for 1910. So 1920 is supposed to be strong banana. 1910 is supposed to be strong vanilla. I get the vanilla off of 1910.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really gotten that strong banana. And I love bananas. So it's not like I'd never eat them.
I'm a huge Old Forester fan, and I've said that on every episode. There hasn't been one bottle that nothing's ever disappointed.
I've had ones that I think are a little better, and I really think this is one of the best that we've had. Yeah, I really feel like out of the whole Whiskey Row lineup, that's probably the better of all four of them, in my opinion. Some of them are very good. This is probably the best. It's also, I believe, the most expensive out of the Whiskey Row.
I can't remember what I paid for this.
I want to say it's around $60.
Okay.
So, it is on the higher end, but all the Whiskey Row ones are like
40 to 60.
Yeah, they really did try to space them all out. So there's like a give or take of a certain range. This is one of the most expensive ones of the Whiskey Rows. I think it's one of the best of it's the best of the four, in my opinion.
And they're all fairly available. I think
generally speaking,
where we live in Nashville, it's some liquor stores are hit or miss. Some might
they might not have all four, but they'll have some.
I've done the tour up there. They've got them all readily available up there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not the birthday bourbon. It's on display, but not for purchase. But
the more interesting part, and I know we've mentioned this in every episode, it's the exact same mash bill. And I can't even begin to comprehend how they're doing that.
It's just different corners of the barn.
Yeah, I understand the premise, but I don't see how it just tastes, each one tastes so different than the other, but to know that it's 72% corn, what is it, 72, 16, and 12? Something like that.
Yeah.
Each one is like that. And you really do get different tastes, different profiles, different notes, and like significantly different. They have to use new oak, so that it's not coming off the barrel differently. So it's all it is where it is in the house. So a little higher, a little lower, a little closer to this wall, a little closer to that wall, temperature fluctuations.
I'd love to hear the story behind how they figured all that out.
Dude, that is some science.
That's a lot of experimenting going on.
That's a lot of history and just knowledge and understanding, and they've been around.
And we've heard other shows we've done. The Buffalo Trace, a lot of them.
Same idea.
They
pick from very specific spots.
Center of the warehouse is for this one. But no, it'd be interesting to how they came up with that.
Go back to the nose now. Tell me how much sweeter that is.
Very much.
You know, we just spoke for whatever, a couple minutes, and you start to like it. You know, it starts to come away from your palate and from your nose, and you come back to it. Man, that is just pure molasses brown sugar.
Yep.
That's great. That's a really good bottle.
So it's Alaska Whiskey Row, but we have obviously
Two more,
we have the birthday
And
and
the
we have
single barrel?
single barrel.
which I'm interested to see. Obviously, a single barrel could, depends on who's picking that single barrel as to how good or not good that is. So interested to see that. I'm totally interested, like the thickness, and one of the things I looked up on this one, that they actually referred to it as, if you're a fan of porters and stouts as beers, this is your kind of whiskey.
You know,
It's thicker. Yeah, I love porters and stouts. Like, that's my beer. It's that thicker, like, you know, a meal out of a drink. This kind of has that to me. And my understanding is the birthday bourbon's the same way. It's sitting right here if you can't quite see it on the screen. I'm very much looking forward to having a pour of that one on the show as well.
No, the Old Forester Whiskey Row series has been fun.
It has been. And I like the nod to all the historic events of Old Forester and the whiskey industry.
The backstories to all of them have been fun.
Yeah, I enjoy that.
This is the last Whiskey Row. We've got 2 more in the Old Forester lineup. We hope that you come back for those episodes. But if you enjoyed this one or any of the other Whiskey Row episodes, we encourage you to hit the like button at the bottom of the screen.
And subscribe so that you can catch the rest of the episodes that we do on the birthday bourbon and the single barrel, and hopefully some point the 150, which they just released, and the presidential, which they only release at the distillery. So sooner or later we will try to get to those bottles as well. We'll see how that goes. So subscribe, hit the bell icon so you get notified every time we post a new episode. Leave a comment. What are your thoughts on the Old Forester? Have you tried the 1915? I really would like to know. Is there a good recipe for that? Is it
Half and half.
half and half? Is it 4 ounces to 3 ounces? Like what have you found to work best?
Appreciate you joining, and we'll see all of you on the next episode.
Thanks for watching.
Cheers.
Cheers.